In this second lecture, we're going to look at some of the challenges that the human resource professional faces. I would actually rather call them opportunities, because even though they are challenging situations, they do impact HR by pushing us to be more creative, more proactive, and more strategic in how we manage the human resources function within the organization. To begin, here are some employment challenges to think about. Finding talent for the organization is not only one of the top priorities for HR, it's also one that's become more and more challenging. The days of employees staying with a single employer for life are largely gone. Employees today are often viewing employment as an opportunity to gain skills, to build a resume, and move on to their next position or role. For the talented employee, they have the choice regarding who they work for and what type of work they do. These employees are harder to entice, and we'll see in a later lecture on employment what employers are doing to attract talent to their organization, having to become much more creative in their recruiting tactics. Even when we were faced with the recent economic downturn and lower employment rates, those top employees were and always will be a challenge to come by. Another challenge is the movement from physical power to intellectual capital. Organizations are much more aware of the intellectual talent and intellectual capital that they have in their employees, and they're more attuned to collaboration and the sharing of knowledge between employees, wherever they are throughout the world. With knowledge workers, new practices to protect intellectual capital and reward employees for innovation and collaboration have become more of the norm. And of course, we see diversification in the workforce. Certainly as organizations grow globally, but even domestically, the need to recruit, develop, and retain employees who bring diverse backgrounds, diverse knowledge, and insight to the organization has become an imperative. We've all likely studied Maslow, who said that, quote, people are capable of extraordinary accomplishments if they are able to meet their own self-fulfilling needs while pursuing the goals of the organization. It's easy to agree with this adage that if an employee's goals and needs are met and perhaps exceeded, they will produce exceptionally for the organization. The challenge for HR management is how to both recognize and deliver on those individual drivers that motivate each one of us. No longer can we assume that everyone will be happy with a bonus, or with a day off, or with more vacation. It's become increasingly important that we understand the motivators for our employees, and especially our high-performing employees, because the cost of not attracting them or not retaining them is extremely high. Some of the challenges that are present with our organizations today include things like globalization, technology, change, talent management, economic and environmental challenges, and cost containment. Some of these have been with us for quite some time, like change or cost containment, and some are relatively new in their growth, such as globalization. We'll be talking about some of these more throughout the course, but let's touch on a few that are most challenging and probably most top of mind: globalization, technology, and talent management. More and more companies, to remain competitive, are either opening up foreign trading or moving offshore to foreign locations, be it through goods or services like offshoring work or producing products, or opening up operations globally. The movement towards globalization is increasing. The trend poses significant challenges to HR. The impact of globalization, that anywhere, anytime, any place market, no longer makes the workday an 8-to-5 situation. Work can be taking place anytime and from anywhere. Partnerships with foreign firms bring with them challenges in communication and in work styles and in collaboration. And corporate expansion beyond existing borders may involve things like relocation, cultural training, and so forth. So the HR professional of today can no longer be solely US-centric. Truly, while it's impossible to know all the international laws and customs, we have a lot of resources available to us, from consultants to software programs, that can assist the HR professional in the management of global enterprises. As we move across borders, it becomes our corporate social responsibility to understand different cultures, laws, and business practices, so that we act in the best interest of individuals or communities who are affected by our activities. These challenges may include how we identify talent, particularly in some cultures that work collaboratively versus individually. How do we identify that talent? Or training to address foreign culture and work practice. How do we ensure that our employees who relocate are able to easily and effectively assimilate in those countries, and design work programs such as equitable compensation plans for overseas work? There's a lot that goes on with this whole area of corporate social responsibility. And a global market means that the complexity of the HR function becomes much greater, as we make decisions on areas such as how is HR governed? Does all of HR emanate from corporate, or is HR handled regionally? How much autonomy or responsibility is regional versus corporate? As mentioned, there needs to be increased focus on training employees to move to a foreign location, as well as taking care of the needs of their families in areas such as foreign language training, relocation, and orientation, just to name a few. It's extremely expensive and labor-intensive to relocate employees overseas or across borders, so we want to make sure that it's a good and lasting experience. Moving on to technology challenges. Knowledge workers of today have responsibilities that include planning, designing, decision-making, and problem-solving that require and rely on technologies to support them. Things such as online training, just-in-time learning via the internet, working on company intranets, knowledge bases, collaborative work sites, and so forth. As well, they expect that they will have connectivity anytime, anywhere. Not being able to access, for example, their benefit enrollment via their smartphone, it's really no longer acceptable. Company blogs, wikis, etc. are considered standard. Company access by applicants and recruiters of things like Facebook, LinkedIn, and other social media are becoming the norm. Now we'll look at some talent management challenges. Talent, or human capital, is defined as the knowledge, the skills, and the aptitudes of the individuals that bring economic value to the organization. Why talent is so critical to the organization, not only to acquire it, but to retain it and develop it, is because talent is based on company-specific skills. It's unique to the success of the organization. It's gained through experience, past and on the job, and it's expanded through development, that is, increased responsibility, growth, and opportunity. Lastly, we'll briefly touch on a couple additional challenges. Change is certainly one challenge that will forever be with us. We must help the organization and the employees deal with change more effectively. We need to help the resistors get on board and minimize the downtime that change can bring about. Cost containment is certainly an area of interest these days and likely always will be, but it's one that the HR function itself should always consider. That is, how to run the HR organization most cost-effectively and lower costs while maintaining quality. And lastly, the environmental and economic challenges that the organization faces are also faced by HR. For example, how to maintain quality with fewer employees, or deal with environmental focus or green initiatives, for instance. We'll always have challenges, and probably that's a good thing. It makes the function exciting and challenging. The difference between the best performing HR organizations and the rest are how well these challenges are dealt with, the creative solutions we put forth, and the innovative ways to deal with these challenges that present themselves.